Students, as promised, I am going to go through and I am going to do a couple sample problems just to help you be refreshed for the quiz. So the first one is, if you think about this problem, you might get a problem. It might say 4 times 3 and 2/10, and it might say, how would you use a quick drawing to demonstrate how to solve the answer for this problem? So what I would do on the side is I would remind myself of what the quick drawing looked like. Our square would be the 1, the flat would be the tenths, and the circle would be the ones. So remember, I'm going to use grouping language to write this out. 4 groups of 3 and 2/10. So I'm going to start off with taking 3 of these and then taking 2 of those. So my first group would be 1, 2, 3, because there are 3 ones, and then 2/10. So I'm going to draw my tenths. 2/10. Boys and girls, this is one group. We need to make 4 groups. So I'm going to continue to make my groups. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So that's 3 ones, 2/10, 3 ones, 2/10, 1, 1, 2 ones, 3 ones, 1/10, 2/10, 1, 1, 2 1, 3 ones, 2/10. So boys and girls, now to tell my answer, I'm going to start to combine them and see if I can get my answer. So I'm going to look here. This is 2, 4, 6, 8. So we know we have how many tenths? 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8/10. And then let's count up our ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's right, boys and girls. We've got 10. And then we have 11, 12. We've got 12 ones. So our answer would be 12 and 8/10. So that would be an example of how to use quick draw to help you solve the answer. Quick drawing. Now, boys and girls, we're going to go on to a different problem where we have to look at place value patterns. So I'm going to come up with my first problem at the top, which here I have a couple different examples. I might have 1 times 2 and 2/10, which would be 2 and 2/10, because the multiplication identity property says 1 times any number is that number. Now if we have 10 times 2/10, boys and girls, we would move the decimal space 1 space to the right, because when we multiply by 10 we gain 1 place value. So answer would be 22. And then if I did 100 times 2 and 2/10, we see that we're going to move the place value 2 places to the left because there are 2 zeros here. So we're going to move 2 places, 1 place, 2 places. Now this is our new place. We have to add a 0 in there, boys and girls. So our answer would be 220. And then lastly, if we had 1,000 times 2/10, boys and girls, we think we have 3 place values, 1, 2, 3. That means that we're going to move the decimal 3 place values as well. 1, 2, 3. So we need to add a 0 here and a 0 here, and we can see that our answer, boys and girls, is 2,200. Now, boys and girls, if we had the same problem, but say instead of the 1, we had the same problem, we use powers of 10. If we had 10 to the 0 power times 2 and 2/10, we would evaluate 10 to the 0 power as 1. 1 times 2 and 2/10 is 2 and 2/10. If we have 10, the first power of 10 times 2 and 2/10, it's really like saying 10 times 1, which is 10, and 10 times 2, boys and girls, would give you 22. Again, you can see that the place value patterns just pick up in the same accord, but this time we're just using powers of 10. So the second power of 10 times 2 and 2/10, second power of 10 is 100, because what we're saying is 10 times 10. So 100 times 2 and 2/10 would give us 220. And the third power of 10 would be 10 times 10 times 10, which gives us 3 zeros, which would be 1,000. And 1,000 boys and girls times 2 and 2/10 would again give you, sorry about that. I think I'm pressing too much close to the edge. Give us, I'm going to have to do a little arrow over. 2,200. Now, next, boys and girls, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the same decimal, but I'm going to multiply by decreasing powers of 10. But I'm going to first start with my same benchmark number, which is 1 times 2 and 2/10, which would give us 2 and 2/10. Now, boys and girls, when I multiply by a number less than 1, we're going to, I'm going to write this down, lose a decimal point. So we're going to actually move to the left. So our answer here would be 2,200. And then, boys and girls, the next one we have is 100th times 2 and 2/10. You see that there are 2 decimal place values here, so we're going to lose 2. 1, 2. So we get our answer to be 22,000, which is a lot harder than anything you're going to see on the quiz, but I want to make sure that you know how to do all those. Boys and girls, we're going to do solving a multiplication by whole number problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw an example on the side, and we are going to multiply this out. Remember, we have 3 different strategies. We can use place value patterns. So I'm going to write that down. Quick drawing. And then last but not least, I have to double check my notes too, so I give it to you correctly. Multiply and use expanded form. So I'm going to say multiply using expanded form. So I'm going to say that you can use any strategy that you would like. Obviously, quick drawing is going to be out if this grouping number is very large. If it's past 9, I wouldn't use quick drawing. So what I'm going to do is, because we've already done quick drawing, I'm going to use place value patterns. So boys and girls, remember, we treat decimals like they're whole numbers. So we're going to multiply this decimal, which is 2 and 1400ths, by 100. 100 has 2 zeros, so that means that we're going to gain 2 zeros. So our new number is 214 times 6. But we know in actuality it's not that. So when we get to the product at the end, boys and girls, we're going to modify it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 4 times 6 is equal to 24. And we're going to regroup the 2. 6 times 1 is 6. Plus 2 is 8. And then 2 times 6 is 12. Now, boys and girls, our product is not actually 1,284 because, remember, we gained 2 decimal places, so we have to multiply by the opposite of that, which is 100th. And we multiply the opposite, we go to the left, and we lose 2 place values. 1, 2, so our real answer is 12 and 84 hundredths. So that's place value patterns. If you'd like to use expanded form too, that's okay. I'm not going to work on that one in this problem. Last, boys and girls, we're going to do the last lesson, which was multiply and solve money. So, boys and girls, in the last problem, what we are going to do is we are going to use the strategy, draw a diagram to solve it. So, hopefully you'll recognize some of our guest stars in this. So, we're going to talk about Richard. Richard goes to Ricky's and he spends $1.25. So, Richard is our benchmark number. So, we're going to make $1.25 in our benchmark diagram. Now, Augustina goes and she spends 5 times as much as Richard. Now, boys and girls, when we hear 5 times as much, we think multiplication as a math detective. So we're going to take whatever Richard is and we're going to multiply it by 5. So how many boxes did Augustina get? That's correct, 5. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And remember, boys and girls, we're going to put $1.25 in all of those boxes because she spent 5 times as much as Richard. And I didn't put a dollar sign just because it didn't fit. But boys and girls, I'd really like you to write that down on your paper when you're studying. Now, lastly, boys and girls, it says that Alexander spends $5.50 more than Augustina. So what we need to do is figure out how much Augustina spent. So what we're going to do is we are going to use place value patterns to help us out. If we multiply 1 and 25 hundredths by 100, we would get 125 times 5. Now remember, boys and girls, when we get to our product, we're going to multiply by the opposite of 100. So 5 times 5 is 25. We regroup the 2. 2 times 5 is 10, plus the regroup 2 is 12. And then 1 times 5 is 5, plus regroup 1 is 6. Now we know our answer is not $625. That's not logical, but we're going to multiply by the opposite of opposite of 100, which is 100th. So we lose 2 decimal places, 1, 2. So we find out that Augustina spent $6.25. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to circle that in blue, and I'm going to arrow back up to Augustina. Now, boys and girls, when we make Augustina's boxes, we're going to make one box of $6.25 because we know she spent that much. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make another box or diagram box for Alexander, who spent $5.50. So now if our question is, how much did Alexander spend? What we'd have to do is we'd get the total of those two amounts, so we'd have to add them up. So we take out what Augustina spent, and then we would add it to what Alexander spent, because he spent that much more than Augustina. So we add it up. We have 5, and then we have 5 plus 2, which is 7, and then 5 plus 5 is 10, plus 1 more would be 11. So we know that Alexander spent $11.75. Hope this helps you out with your quiz, boys and girls.